In this video, you're going to learn why your thoughts are running your life, and more importantly, how to take control of that process so you're actively moving towards your goals. For those of you who are new to the channel, my name is Adam Carmichael. I'm a mindset performance coach who helps poker players to reach that next level of performance. Make sure you stick around to the end of this video as an announcement to make about some spots to work with me one-on-one in my peak performance coaching. With that being said, let's dive into today's video. Now, I'm not sure if you guys have noticed, but we've got this inner voice in our head which keeps on talking. We have thoughts that are consistently going. If you don't pay attention to this process, we end up lost in thoughts that just jump from one random thing to another. So you might be thinking of what you're gonna have for breakfast. Then you start thinking about the bills that need to be paid. Then you start thinking about a poker session you need to play. And we just jump from thought to thought. And it almost seems random. And I'm gonna show you in this video why it's not random, why I can predict what you're gonna think next if I had the right amount of data, and I'm going to show you how to get back control. So one of the things with our brain is we make the mistake of identifying with our thoughts. So our thoughts are just coming up at random. It's the mind trying to fix problems. Thoughts generally arise because we want things to be better, or we're not okay with how things are. So we're almost like, I want things this way, I don't want things that way. So the mind's coming up with thoughts which are generally trying to help you fix problems, make things be okay. If everything was okay, our mind would be very quiet. If we didn't have impressions, as it's called, or things that had bothered us, we generally just walk through life just taking everything in and everything would be really good. Thoughts would come up, but we wouldn't buy into them. So one of the mistakes we make early on is that we make the mistake of identifying with our thoughts. This is a big one. We think we are our thoughts, right? Because there's no space. And for a long time, I was so lost in my thoughts until like a few years ago when I actually really started putting work in to separate myself from my thoughts, which I'm going to show you guys how to do that. I couldn't tell the difference between my thoughts and who I was. I was my thoughts in my own head. So they're coming so quickly, you're just thinking from thought to thought to thought to thought. There's no space. So you end up identifying yourself with them. So if you think you're not good at something, you become not good at that thing. If you think if you're excited about something, you become excited. So we're giving our thoughts all this power. And we're doing this we're putting our consciousness on our thoughts. So one of the mistakes we're making is to not understand the process. I'm gonna go through how I show you this is not what you should be doing, and how we can create space between your consciousness and your thoughts so we can see the process. Because if not, your thoughts are going to be run by three things, okay? So I can know, if I know these three variables, I can know what thought's going to pop into your head next. I can know why it's going to pop up and how it's going to pop up. So there's three things that basically the mind constructs its thoughts from. So the first thing is the data that has came in. So imagine your brain is like a computer. Your mind's like a computer. It's constantly taking in information and it's being programmed constantly. Subconsciously it's being programmed non-stop. And all the data coming in is being taken. So that's going to leave impressions on your brain, and it's going to program your mind to think about things in a certain way. So that's one thing. Data in is programming the mind to think in a certain way, and your thoughts are a reflection of that. But that's not all. There's something else that it takes in on board, and that's the order. The order in which thoughts come in. So the most recent thoughts have the most impact on us. The most recent events have the most impact on us. If something happened an hour ago, it's going to be fresh in my thoughts. It's going to impact my thoughts in a stronger way compared to something that happened 5 years ago. However, there's another variable, and it's the strength. The strength or intensity of the thought when it was stored. So the strength or intensity of the thought. So if I had a strong thought, even if it was 20 years ago, a big emotional experience, it's going to affect my thoughts even today. So that's why a lot of people have issues now coming back from like deep childhood because it was something traumatic or something at the time that had a high emotional charge to it. It gets thought about more often. So if you think about it, the brain's constantly coming up with all these random thoughts as a byproduct of the data it's received. It's a computer, remember, the order in which that data went in, and the strength or intensity or the meaning that those thoughts were given to in that moment. If I knew those three things, I could know what thoughts are going to come up next. The brain, although it seems random, these thoughts, they're not. They're a byproduct of the programming that you've had. Now the problem is, most people pay no attention to this. They've subconsciously, throughout their life, been programmed for all the experiences. They've paid no attention to the weight or the strength or the meaning they're given to events. And as a result, they've got all these random thoughts now, which are just throwing them all over the place. The chances, if you're not paying attention to this process and your thoughts just being really awesome and in line with your current goals, close to zero. And your thoughts are going to run your life and probably ruin your life if you don't get to grips with them. So So the first thing I want you guys to understand, and this was like probably the biggest revelation I had in my own personal development, was I am not my thoughts. And I had to go through a whole process. My logical brain's like, well, you are your thoughts. You know, I had to go through a whole process of understanding I wasn't my thoughts, and I had to separate myself. So I'm going to go show you guys how to do that. But first of all, I want you guys to understand that we can consciously create our thoughts, or our thoughts create themselves. If you've noticed, like, we can consciously think on something that we need to do. I need to do this task, a mathematical equation, solve this problem, go to the gym. We can consciously choose them. And if we do, awesome. If we don't, they choose themselves. If I say think of nothing right now, how long did you last? 1 second, 2 seconds? Maybe you can last 10 seconds. But all of a sudden the thought pops up. You didn't consciously think of it. And the scary thing is, the conscious thoughts that we create, which are generally going to push us towards our goals, being proactive, or they could be negative if you're in a negative spiral, only take up around 5%, which means 95% of thoughts create themselves. So we're not even paying attention to the thoughts that are created. We're not actively choosing which thoughts are coming up. So when your thoughts are popping up and you're identifying with them, I am these thoughts, we're not even choosing the thoughts that come up. So it's really interesting when you stop yourself and go, this sounds like I'm going to be in a bit of a mess if I don't get in control of this process. I'm buying into these thoughts that are coming at random based on the data, the order, and the strength of the emotions that I had at the time. I paid no attention to that logging in process, and now I've got this computer with all this data, which is a complete mess, and I'm buying into the outputs, which are not controlling. And then I'm wondering why I can't get my life together. So this is where I got to one point. I was like, wait a second, this can't be good. This can't be good for me to get my goals. So first of all, what I want you guys to understand is you're not your thoughts. We need to separate ourselves from them. So I want to go through a process here. It might lose a few of you guys with it, but I think it's really important to understand the separation between yourself and your thoughts. So imagine it. I'll use a blue pen. Imagine you have the self, okay? We have the self. I'm just going to go through this slightly quickly. And then on the outer layer, we have the mind. So we have the self, and then the outer construct of the mind, okay? And I'm going to explain this for you guys, just so you can understand it. So imagine you're thinking something now. You're thinking some thoughts. Probably watching this video, is it going to be helpful? What's this guy talking about? Yourself and your thoughts. Thinking about stuff. Who's watching those thoughts? Who's watching the thinker? And when you stop this for a second and you watch this process, you see there's a subject-object relationship. There's an observer and there's a subject. Who's the observer? Who's the observer? And we go super deep on this. I don't want to go full into spiritual deepness here, but we've got to understand there's an observer. We can call the observer consciousness, the self, whatever, and then we've got the thoughts, which are on top. So the observer is witnessing the thoughts. So we can soon see that these things are not the same. We've got the self, the observer, and we've got the thoughts. The problem is in our modern lives, busy, doing stuff, always next thing we're moving to, we don't stop to separate, so we end up being our thoughts. So we put all our consciousness, all our attention into the thoughts that are getting created, and as a result, they become locked. They become the same thing. We are our thoughts. Our thoughts are, we react to our thoughts as if they're real. When one thought comes up, it leads to another one, then another one, and we don't control that process. So, the process of waking up in this example is to understand that the self and the mind are separate. The self and the mind are separate. This is where you've got to really, really realize this, and it's taken me probably the last year. I really went deep on this every single day, trying to separate self and mind. They're so intertwined. They're locked. You try and remove them first, and you get sucked into mind. The self gets sucked into mind over and over. You've got to consistently remove yourself from that. So how do you do that? You've got to first understand that this is yourself is not the mind, and you've got to go through the process of observing your thoughts. Observing your thoughts. Can you watch your thoughts without getting sucked in? Can you just watch a thought come up and not respond to it, not react to it? Oh, I'm hungry right now. Should I go eat? Can you watch yourself, the thought come up being hungry and not react to it? So for me, this was impossible, absolutely impossible until I started to meditate. At first people were telling me to meditate, I didn't get it. But when I started meditating, I was like, I can now see a thought pop up. And I can see it and have just enough space, just enough time to see that thought isn't me, and I can watch it. And when you get in the habit of watching it, You can do this meditation first, and then you carry that over into your day, and you watch your thoughts come up. You're having a conversation with somebody, and you watch your mind trying to think of what to say next. Oh, my brain's trying to think of something to say next, rather than listen to this person speak to me. You see your brain going, oh, I need to go to the gym now. The thoughts coming up. You see the thoughts, and you play the game of observer, watcher, and you watch your thoughts. This removes that tension. This separates self from the mind. And when you do this, you get more control of your life. If not, these random thoughts, which came from data, order, strength, are going to drag you here. They're going to drag you there. High thought, low thought. This person likes me. This person dislikes me. And we're going to get dragged around constantly by these random thoughts. And we give them all our power. All our power is given our thoughts when we don't stop. So you need to go through a process of separating self from mind and not buying into the fact that you're your thoughts. And you do that by observing your thoughts. And if you want to go a level deeper, you ask yourself, who is it that watches the thoughts? Who is it that's watching the thoughts? And you know that you'll go, the answer generally will be me. I do. I see the thoughts. Who am I? Who am I is like the deepest question you can get to. If you look at a lot of spiritual textures, they all end with the question, who am I? And you generally get to an unknown, but like a feeling of consciousness, a feeling of something, and you understand, I'm not my thoughts. And yeah, I'm very, very big on basically understanding that if you don't control this process, if your thoughts just run in a direction and you don't consciously create your thoughts, only 5% of the time, 5% of the time consciously choosing, 5% of the time being behind the steering wheel of your life, 95% of the time unconsciously driving a direction based on shit that happened when you were a kid, when you were younger, all this random programming that came in, and then wondering why your life isn't quite where you want it to be. Imagine if you could just reverse that. Imagine if you could consciously choose to create more of your thoughts. Imagine if you could separate yourself from them. So the thoughts that you were having were just like background noise, watching heaven, and you were seated in the seat of self, as they call it, so you could observe them and actually take control. So work on this thing, guys. Be observing your thoughts every day. I'm literally doing this myself every single day for at least an hour in the morning. I watch my thoughts go by, and I try to apply it every day. It's a hard process to get into, but it's so worth it. You'll have the biggest breakthroughs of your entire life once you understand this. Once you conceptually and you understand, like in your being, that I'm not my thoughts, I'm watching my thoughts. The control, like it's literally like going, there's the control panel for your life. You can go now. And if not, you're just at the mercy of your thoughts. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. Now I want to announce that I've got a few spots available in my peak performance program. It's been booked out for a while now, but a few spots have become available. You're going to click on the link in the description to apply for a spot in that coaching. We'll work on your mindset, your performance and lifestyle, and really push your performance in all areas to the next level with a personalized program. So click on the link in the description, see if it's a fit for you, and we'll work from there. So thanks for watching this, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you smash the like button before you go, and I appreciate your time. There's going to be plenty more coming from me very soon.